Let me talk about the machine feet first. The great thing about our sewing machines now, technology has really caught up and given us a lot of ways to make our sewing more precise. And this is a great foot to have. Now, before I begin this, don't get me wrong, if you have a sewing machine that just does a zigzag and a straight stitch and you have a regular old foot, you can still do heirloom sewing. But you won't get the precision that you're going to get if you have a machine that has a needle position and differential feed and specialty feet that are going to help you keep things lined up really well. This foot I love because it has a center guide blade, if you can see that here. In heirloom sewing, this is great for sewing on entredot because the edge of the, I'm trying to find my entredot piece over here. Okay, the edge of this blade can ride right up against the edge of that entredot, and your needle position can be set right next to it. So as your eye is guiding along following this, your needle is getting right next to this edge. And when you're sewing entredot, you really want to get that seam as close to that edge as possible, and this foot achieves that for you. Another great thing about this foot is that you can, when you're butting two laces together and you're zigzagging them over the headers, if you don't have this foot, they tend to draw together and overlap and they start scrunching together. And so you're constantly having to kind of keep them apart at just the right space apart where it's not, where you're still sewing it together but you're not letting it overlap. Well, to kind of take all the guesswork out of that, you can put a piece of lace on this side and a piece of lace on this side, and while it's dividing the headers, the zigzag is still pulling them together and keeping them perfectly butted edge to edge. So I love this. Also, this is my favorite foot to use when I'm applying ribbon on top of something and I want to get a precise, very straight top stitch on the edge of the ribbon, and I don't want it wiggling back and forth. I just line this up with the edge of my ribbon, set my needle position, and go. And it's also great for top stitching. So even if you're not heirloom sewing, having a center guide blade foot or some kind of guide blade on your foot is just a must-have for precision. The other foot I like is the open toe foot. Now, a lot of people like to use a clear sewing machine foot when they're joining laces because they can see through it. Other people prefer the open toe foot because it gives you a lot of area where you can see what the needle is doing and you can control what's going on right here. So this is a great foot for joining laces and also, you know, doing different things where you need to see what you're doing very closely. These two feet are grooved feet, and they're just wonderful in many for many applications, but in heirloom sewing it's a must-have when you're doing double needle pin tucks because the pin tuck rises up between the two. The double needle, actually the stitching behind it puckers up the center part of the pin tuck and it'll ride in that groove. Once you've set your first groove, you can use these other grooves to be your guide and set your pin tucks precisely apart. No thick and thin spots in between them. This is a 7-groove foot. It's also great for even smaller pin tucks. This is the 5-groove foot is great for making precision piping, and a lot of people like to use gimp cord when they're working with heirloom sewing, so the cord kind of rides right under there and you don't have a problem with things shifting while you're sewing. So I've covered some great feet to have. As far as tools for drafting and marking, you can't do better than one of these rulers. They're flexible, but what I like about them is all the way across they have a 1/8 inch grid, and on the sides they have a 1/16 inch. It helps you get great 90-degree angles. It also helps you do lines that are precisely evenly apart. This is invaluable in drafting and marking fabrics and having a long straight edge to work with. Going from that, we'll talk about marking. These marking pens are invaluable. Everyone loves the blue water-soluble marker. And this one has the little eraser pen on the end. I like that because sometimes I'm marking along and I might slip, or I've marked something the wrong way, and I can easily just erase that part of the line with this part without having to wash the whole thing out. Now this does wash out with water. You do want to test it on your fabric. It does help to start your fabric first because the blue marker actually goes, it goes into the starch, and when the starch washes away, so does the blue marker. You might want to test it with an iron to make sure the iron is not setting it. I've never had a problem with this washing out though, but some people tell me they have. So test that. Another great pen is the Air Erasable pen. I love this pen, especially if you're working on a project. You've got a lot of time to work on it. You've set aside, okay, today I'm going to do my lace shaping. So you use this marker, and this will last about 24 to 48 hours. Most of the time it lasts 2 days, and then it just dissipates. The air just goes away. So if you're going to be working on something in the next 2 days, an air erasable pen is a great way to go, because you don't have to wash it out. It just disappears for you. So that's a great pen to have. These other pens are awesome because they are mechanical pencils. And you can get them in different colors. So if you got a lot of lines going on, you want one line to be green, one line to be pink. There's also a blue and a white if you're working on dark fabrics, and this one's just the regular pencil. These wash away, and they give you precise, very tight lines. They're perfect for transferring embroidery lines when you don't want anything thick and in your way, and you've got to have a nice, precise line. And it comes with refiller colored leads. And we also sell these at Martha Pullen Company, so there's lots to choose from.